All right, it is 2 o'clock Eastern time, or 11 o'clock for my West Coast friends. I'm going to go ahead and get started here with our platform roadmap, product roadmap presentation. So welcome everyone. Just give a quick introduction to who's on the call with us and what we're doing here today. And we will go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, let's introduce some of the panelists you're going to see here. I am Eric Wilmerink. I'm one of the product managers here at Decisions. I've done a little bit of everything in the sense that I started here as an actual developer. I've done some technical support. I ran our IT ops for a while. I did training for probably the bulk of my career here. And now I'm really focused on making sure that we're building the right sorts of things for our customers. So I got to come up with creative solutions to solve your real world problems. So that's me. I'll be doing the bulk of the talking here today, but you may hear a couple other voices chime in here. I'm actually going to go ahead and let them come off mute and introduce themselves very quickly. But first off, I'll kick it over to Kirsten, who's another product manager over here. So Kirsten, just quick 10 seconds. Who are you?
I am Kirsten.
There you go.
Yeah, I've been here for about 7.5 years now and also have done a variety of things. Started as a documentation writer, and now I'm here.
Perfect. And we also have Josh Lax on the call. Josh, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, my name is Josh. I started out on the professional services team here, transitioned over to customer success, and now I work for the product team. So happy to be here.
Thanks, man. I didn't tell them that I was going to kick it to them, so I really hoped I stressed them out just a little bit. So I'm happy that I got to do that. But yeah, our goal here is to spend, anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes kind of walking through some highlights of recent things we've done, as well as looking forward to the next 12 to 18 months and really even further into the next couple of years. We're going to change the format of this a little bit. I'm really going to just kind of give some high level highlights. The slides are still going to be the same, but there's going to be a lot of text here that you see and a lot of kind of areas we're focusing on. But instead of me rambling for many hours, what I ask is that as you're looking through the slides and seeing what we're presenting, if anything really sticks out to you or there's a topic you really want to ask more questions about or have us dive deeper in, please go ahead and type them in the Q&A panel in the chat. I need to close my Teams very quickly. Hold on, I saw that pop up. Kirsten's mad at me. So let me close my Teams for a second while I ramble here. But yes, if you have any questions, you want to dive into any of these topics a little bit deeper, you want to have us answer anything, or you think of something after the call that you want to answer, follow up on, please feel free to type in the question panel, the Q&A panel, or the webinar chat, or just email us at productmanagement@decisions.com. And that'll email all of us, Kirsten and Josh included, and our other product managers, and we'll be able to answer any questions you have. So make this interactive, but we won't spend a ton of time belaboring a bunch of these points. So always start with our mission. I'm going to go ahead and do that as we always do. What's the goal of the platform? Why do we exist as a company? Because we love solving problems. And more importantly, we want to give the people who have the real world business problems the right set of tools to solve your needs with a complete, suite of automation techniques and tools at your fingertips. And so we are the platform where you can build all your automations. And our goal is to make that as fast and as easy as possible, while also giving you all the insight and information that you get with an enterprise level software. So again, that's our mission. That's what we're doing. Past couple of years and next year, or I guess this year rather, what are we doing? What have we done? All of last year was focused on version 9. If you haven't checked out version 9, the big highlight here is projects. Projects being a new way we categorize, organize, and kind of set up your infrastructure in the Decisions platform to keep things together and kind of streamlined and visible as one package. That's called projects. If you haven't gotten a chance to see it, we have some webinars on our YouTube page that walk through all the new features. And of course, our documentation site will walk you through those as well. But last year was really focused heavily on that project's kind of infrastructure and the design experience of building inside of that. Transitioning to this year, all of our dev efforts and R&D, or at least the vast majority of them, are focused very heavily on deployments, which is really how we're going to get your work moved from one environment to another. And I've been promising this for about 2 years now as a product manager. We actually are getting MVPs and beta versions out there very, very soon. So if you have any interest in those, again, email us at productmanagement@decisions.com. To highlight the past few releases, we're roughly on a one per month kind of release cycle at this point. We've released 9.6 in January, 9.7 in February, 9.8 in March, and version 9.9 is scheduled to come out next week. But a couple things in each of these versions. In 9.6, one thing to highlight here is that we really focused on the caching mechanisms, whereas previously the way that kind of your memory worked for your platform, the way things are running, how it's saved, data saved, was done globally for the whole system. We started isolating that specifically to your project, so you have much better control and insight and visibility about which projects kind of take more compute power versus others. So some improvements there on how you can kind of visualize and control the memory profile of each individual project in version 9. In 9.7, something that I think is super the huge win for us is finally getting our chatbot updated to use all of our AI insights. We've been training this thing for a while on all of our documentation and support tickets and forum posts and kind of our history of decisions. And we finally trained an AI chatbot effectively and built it straight into the platform where you can start interacting with it and gain insights right away. And I'm going to demo that in just a minute, so I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then two things to highlight in 9.8, because I think they impact everyone. The first is something we're calling PATS, or proactive technical support. And what this is this is an opt-in feature where we will actually be able to send you automated suggestions and insights from our support team straight into your development environment, so you can start to get suggestions from us early on in the development cycle rather than waiting for an issue to occur. So it switches the paradigm of our support team being reactive to being proactive, where we can interrogate your flows and say, hey, wait a minute, I'm seeing a pattern here I don't like, or this really isn't conforming to best practices or won't scale well. We suggest you use this step instead. Or, hey, here's a link to schedule a call with us so that we can walk through this with you. And that kind of proactive behavior really is a differentiator for us, because we're trying to help you out as you go rather than waiting for like some sort of memory issue to you to report to us and then we're all scrambling. So it's really cool. And once you opt in, you'll start to see those things toggle through your projects as to-dos with a whole recommendation system tied to it. And then the last one here is all about our UI building features. And this is another one I'm going to demo in just a minute. I'll actually demo 3 of these 4 in just a moment here. But the drag and drop resize is we're doing a whole suite of work, and Kirsten's leading the charge here around the way that we build UI and decisions. We're completely getting up to kind of modern standards with resizable controls, drag and drop controls that actually move things around appropriately. And of course, flexible containers we're calling Flexbox that will resize and shuffle whole groups of controls or single controls around based on screen size and screen real estate. So the promise we made years ago about being able to build one form and have it resize appropriately for mobile and desktop and super wide screens is actually coming to fruition in a brand new kind of unified UI building experience. So all that's coming. Oh, that's super cool. And yeah, I actually, instead of just talking through slides for a little bit, let me jump over to my decisions environment here. Let me restart the sharing. And I would love to just show off a couple of these things, right? Talk through some of these things that I think are pretty neat, and I'll go ahead and do that. So first and foremost, the chatbot. It's the same chat experience you have. This will also be implemented in version 8. So if your version looks a little different because I'm on 9 and you're on 8, the Dart chatbot will still work exactly the same. But once you start to initiate a chat with decisions, you'll notice that first it's going to say, hey, you're talking to our generative AI assistant called Dart. What are you trying to do? Here's some suggestions, or you can start interacting with it. Now, I do want to confirm, or rather give you some assuaging of potential concerns here. You could still talk to our support team through this. You just have to ask to talk to them. I'll probably do it at some point so that I can annoy someone in our company, because I have a good time doing this. But the chatbot's great. Say, for example, you want to say, how do I connect to Salesforce in decisions, right? And it's going to go interrogate our doc site and use all the training that it's had. And it's actually going to provide me with the actual description of where I can go, how I can start to set these things up, and documentation links so I can start researching and getting the information there. I unfortunately am on a really slow internet connection today. I've had all sorts of problems, so this might take a little longer than usual. There we go, perfect. But it's going to format a response, right? Hey, to connect, you got to install the module first, set up an auth provider, use pre-built steps, and oh yeah, go ahead and click this link to start looking at more documentation. And this is going to work anywhere you are on the platform. If I'm here in the tool, you'll see that I can keep Dart or the chatbot up. I can see it down in the corner here as an open conversation. So as I'm building and working through the kind of my design experience, I'll be able to ask it questions like, hey, what step is it again that sends an email? It's a silly question to use, but it's one that'll, I guess, help me out. And that should go ahead and research and find it and say, hey, here's the step you're trying to use. Here's how to configure it. And yet again, here's a documentation link. There you go. Use the send email step and allow it to be used. So this is version 1 of the chatbot. You can go ahead and use it right away, and it will give you tons of useful information without having to leave your design experience to go find the doc or email support or whatever. It's a huge, huge win here. One of the next iterations of this is being able to actually have this chatbot interact with your screen. And that's going to be something we add in the next couple of versions here of Decisions, where you can actually say, instead of saying, hey, what's the send email step? It'll prompt you and say, would you like me to add it to your flow for you? And you can say yes, and it'll pop up on your design canvas. Or for the Salesforce one, do you want to navigate to install the Salesforce module now? And I can say yes, and it'll navigate me to the page and install the module for me. So that's the next iteration, is taking Dart and letting it be a little bit more interactive with your portal experience rather than just a chat. Cool. That's feature 1 to show off. I don't see any questions. I don't hear any comments, so I'm gonna carry on, I guess. Cool. But that's Dart. And again, if you do want to talk to a real human, say, can I talk to a real person? It'll go ahead and prompt me and say, yep, I can go ahead and absolutely switch that context. I've routed the request to support. Oh, I thought it was going to prompt me and make sure I wanted to do that. All right, I really wasn't going to bother our team, but now I get to. So I'm going to let them know. This is just Eric on a webinar. Say hi. Cool. And we'll see if they say anything. Anyway, feature number 1, super cool. There you go. The second thing I wanted to highlight, as I said before, was that the drag and drop designer for new form. Oh, sorry, I'm clicking the wrong button. Oh no, sorry, switch back. Hold on, I should stop wildly clicking. There we go. All right, sorry, back to Decisions. So sorry. The second one I want to show off here is the drag and drop forms. So if I go ahead and open this up into a form designer, you're going to see this on version, Kirsten, correct me if I'm wrong, 9.7 and newer, maybe 9.8. I'm going to go with 9.7. I think that's right. But finally, oh, go ahead.
Drag to resize
Drag to resize, yeah.
is 9.8.
9.8. Okay, cool. 9.8 and newer. Where now effectively, instead of seeing the arrow boxes, if you guys are on a version of Decisions that doesn't have this, you have to click the arrows to like resize it to grids. Now you can just simply drag it and fill the space, and it will fill the appropriate space that you're trying to drag it to. So if I wanted to resize my text box to be here, and then shrink this checkbox at the top, and I say, oh, just kidding, come to the bottom, but fill this space. Like, you can now very quickly take all of your controls. You can even group them together and start to slide them around and resize them appropriately. This is a big win for us. This is something we've been missing in the tool for quite some time. And the next iteration of this is, again, that flex box, being able to then stack them and resize them appropriately, so that as my screen real estate changes, these things would shrink and grow appropriately. So that's just something that I think is really neat and wanted to show off really quick as well. Oh, I did get a question come in. Oh, go ahead, Kirsten.
Oh,
yeah, Kirsten,
I was going to read the question.
Oh, yeah,
so
cool.
You could answer.
Awesome, yeah.
So will the next iteration of the Dart, where it adds the steps to your flow, come to our version directly, or will it require an update?
Great question. The one that adds stuff to your flow will require an update, because that's actually going to be interacting with kind of features of the platform. The version that's just the chat, you can have today in all versions that have chat, which I think is 8 and newer. Maybe even some versions of 7 have chat. I can't quite recall. But yeah, that'll be something you'll need to upgrade for the interactive Dart. Interdart. Ooh, someone responded. Let's see what they said. Oh, hi. There we go. Nathan. I think we got Nathan last time on the same webinar. He must have this time slot. Great question. All right, last thing I want to show you, which actually I forgot to highlight on the slide, so this is something I can talk about cool, that I think is cool, is you'll notice that everywhere we've started kind of making really prominent these health scores, right? So you'll see on the default designer view when I'm looking at everything in like a folder that now we're highlighting what these health scores are. And for every one of our designers, you're going to get these calculated scores, which is really just an analysis of best practices to say, hey, are you doing the things that we recommend doing to make your flows and your forms and rules kind of conform to these best practices and have good health? And you can do that now in the designers by clicking the little heart icon and I guess progress bar or whatever you would call that sort of icon. But you can see all the suggestions and things that are potentially being issues here. For one, I have a big validation issue, which I can click and see, hey, your get all account step is not set up properly. It's not configured well. Your step names are good. Your description's fine. Step log 1 should probably be renamed, and you have no unit test or handling, so you only get an 85. But the really cool part about this is, as I start to make changes as a designer, so say I actually pick a fetch type here, like I'm going to fetch all the accounts and decisions, and I configure the step to work properly. You'll notice that if I were to go save, I'm going to get a plus 3% boost to my health rating. And if I rename log step 1 from log 1 to save off the fetched accounts, right? Give it a reasonable name. You'll notice now I'm plus 4%. And if I added unit tests, I'd get an additional percentage. But sourcing that very quickly to see your health and then to be able to see how your changes impact the health score, we think is a big win for our developers and gives you quick insight into kind of what your building practices look like and how that behaves. All right, recent features demo complete. I believe we've answered all the questions. So let's start looking at the next couple of years. I guess we'll start high and then we'll dive in a little bit to specifically what you can look at over the next couple months. So here's just a kind of a bullet list of things we're highlighting, or things that we're really going to be focusing on over 2025. I've already mentioned the theme here is really deployment centered, but you'll see a lot of things on the right hand side, like the Flow Designer refresh and some others. But a couple I really want to talk about is deployment server number one. But this first big idea is of change tasks and sprints. One thing we really want to surface up to the developer and to the people like the senior developers and project managers and then deployment owners, the people who really care about the process of deployment, is we're putting a lot of different kind of visibility and controls around how you can track, manage, commit, and get visibility and approval for actual developer work. And so we're adding this idea of change tasks, or you can also sub in here like user stories or work tasks, and sprints of work, or rather groups of the developer work together, so that you can organize and categorize these bits of work and track process forward, but more importantly, do things like code review, where a senior developer can review someone's work and actually kind of gain some insights into it and reject it back to the developer with comments and history and those sorts of things. I have another slide I want to share about this, but this is a feature that's really, really important to us and really gives you a lot of visibility into things that previously were just kind of either manually maintained or not visible at all. The other one is this unified UI designer. I showed you drag to resize, which is the start of that, but we're actually phasing in a whole series of updates to both the form and the page designer, which are really centered around getting you one single build experience to build all of your UI, right? So right now we have several different ones. We have simple forms, we have like regular forms, I think we call them, and then we have page designer, and all of them have slightly different kind of experiences of managing your data and building flows. We want to combine all of that together to make that a single kind of UX building experience for all of our developers. And what that's going to do is things like on pages, being able to control and manage visibility is going to be the same as forms, or being able to manipulate the data that kind of transitions between all of your controls will be the same between forms and pages. And so a lot of really cool things are happening there to make sure that kind of the UX building experience is improved. And again, if you see something else on this list that piques your interest, you want to ask about, please feel free to type it in the chat. But again, to highlight in on these change tasks and sprints, because I think this is, the deployment server is something I'm very heavily involved in and very much care about. Again, change tasks are like today, when a developer does something in decisions, the only kind of tracking we have on that is like a hidden history folder with comments and save data, or a commit process where you can commit it in and then all that data is stored off somewhere else. We want to surface all of that and give the tracking and kind of ownership of what changes you're making and the reason behind them in the face of the developer, but also simple for them, right? So that as they're building and designing, it's just automatically tagging the rule change and flow change they're making directly to their task or to the assignment they've been assigned. And sprints we're just treating as a way to group and organize that work together so that you can get quick reporting on, say, hey, for the past 2 weeks, what did Josh work on? And it turns out he was on vacation again, so he only completed one of his tasks. But Kirsten, who's really hardworking, we saw her update, 50 different flows and 20 rules. So when I go to give them a raise, it's Kirsten, and we'll fire Josh or whatever it looks like. So maybe a little aggressive of a use case, but the idea being is that we want to surface that data and make it really clear and visible to the people who care, the project donors and the deployment owners. All of that data should be in your face, able to be seen, able to be audited, able to be reported on, and that. So this is a little teaser. If you aren't interested in deployment server stuff at all, email projectmanagementdecisions.com. Starting next week, we're going to be demoing some design prototypes to customers. And I'll be walking through with you guys actually what we think this looks like in the platform and throughout the tool, followed up by in a month or two which will be an actual MVP version of this where you can start to play with these concepts and ideas around managing your change tasks, deploying them up to different environments, et cetera. So again, shameless plug. If you're interested in that, please shoot us a note. Let me know. All right. So then what does that mean for next year? Well, quite a bit. There's the next kind of major iteration of things that we want to look at for next year. Has a wide range of kind of targeted areas we're going to be kind of going after. One of the ones that we're going to kind of extend on deployment server is once we get really great controls around moving your work and having code review and deployment practices that are really solid, is this idea that we want to then take your infrastructure and scale automatically and have automated testing pipelines that you could take your project and run both load and unit tests together side by side and report those back. Getting enrichment data from production and sourcing that up. But really this idea that now your infrastructure can scale and grow and shrink appropriately is a big focus for kind of the underlying architecture of decisions, right? We want to really make containerization and creating instances and destroying them and putting them in clusters to do batch loading and then shrinking those when load decreases. All of that's going to be a lot simpler, managed through the deployment server, and a really clear way for you to be able to kind of make sure that things are running effectively and that you're putting the resources where they need to go. I think that's one of the big things that we struggle with today, just to be very candid with this audience, is that one of our struggles is that you pay for a test server that you don't always need full resources on. So we're kind of putting the burden on you to say, hey, manage resources and scale your environments down when you're not using it. But all that's kind of decoupled from each other, and we put a lot of burden on IT ops. We want to shrink that burden and say, hey, we can put them in nodes together and shrink and grow them and put dedicated resources appropriately so that that becomes part of your testing practices. Like, hey, I got a big batch test coming up, grow resources here, only pay for the time you're testing, shrink resources, and your cost drops in that sense. So again, I highlight it here because I'm the one talking and I care about it. But there's a bunch of other stuff we're doing too around, the way that your data types get kind of compiled and the performance around that, or the way that you experience the portal and the UI there. So if you see something here, just let us know. Happy to dive into it a little bit more. And then doing our best to forecast even further into the future. There's a number of different things we want to start targeting to make even better. Some of this is also going to be tied to a lot of our AI roadmap. So I'm going to save some of those kind of ideas for things that we're looking at in the next couple slides. But two things I want to talk about here is one, less development, more configuration. One thing that's incredible about decisions is that we can do it all, right? You can build just about anything in decisions. One of the kind of knocks against decisions is that requires you to build a lot from the ground up. We want to start to reduce that load of or that burden or onus on the customer of saying, hey, build it from scratch, to give you things out of the box that work a lot, kind of get you 80 to 90% of the way there, and you're just configuring or tweaking options with it, right? So this is going to be in the form of more solutions, right? The way that our solutions, our marketplace, where you can get examples of our projects and examples of things that you can build in decisions and just kind of tweaking them that way. But it's also going to be in the way that you interact with like flows and rules, and the way that you can just start to turn on and off features of them, so that you can just configure it for your use case and say go, and it will run without having to kind of build logic or build flows from out of the box. And this will be coupled a lot with kind of some AI stuff as well. So less development, more configuration, I think is great. And then, of course, being able to automatically update processes using enrichment from production data and even AI insights to then make actual developmental changes with those insights, right? So today, the next step is going to be just visualizing all that data so you can make informed decisions as a developer. We believe that in the future we'll be able to actually update your process automatically with checks and balances and oversight from a human, so to speak. But you will be able to make more efficient flows and processes with that data, right? So as you're running your workflow or your system live in production, we can actually automatically tweak it to make it faster and faster and faster and more efficient that way. So that's something we're targeting as kind of a big long running initiative there.
Hey, Eric, we got a question in the chat about transactional data types.
Oh yeah, go ahead. What is it?
Transactional data types.
There it is.
Is that
Yeah.
where you can switch from one to another?
Yes. Kind of. It's more this idea that the structures of data you're defining don't have to be these hard defined, hard coded, compiled types, right? Like today, if I have a structure, I have to go define it and say this is the name, these are all the different members, go, and then it has to run a full compile cycle, and then I can go start to use it. Transactional data types is more being able to interrogate the data and infer those members so that we can actually do that live, so that we're not forcing all of this .NET compile around, when you're actually executing your flows, or even when you're developing, right? So as I'm developing, I can start to just pull the members based on the data rather than trying to compile structures and then build. And what the reason we're doing this is because today, if you don't know the structure of your data yet you want to start building, you're forced to make a type, start your building processes, and then go change the type, which then go back and change the development practice, or the process you're building. And if your data is not fully structured at the beginning or well known, you're constantly playing this kind of ping pong game. And so by being able to infer all of that data and do that kind of that live compile type activity, it just reduces all of that development burden, and then gives us a big performance boost as well, because we're not compiling mega types if you're not using all the fields. So it's kind of a bigger technical hurdle, but the benefit will be a lot more streamlined to building practices for our developers. Cool. I don't see any questions, so I'm gonna carry on. Thank you, Josh. All right, I only have a few more slides. We're getting close to our 30-minute-ish, which I promised, which is going to turn into 40, because every time I present, I always talk too long. But yeah, let's dive a little bit more into just specifically the next 12 months. And again, I'm just going to highlight a couple things and speak up if there's something you see that is really interesting. But we've broken this down into 3 major themes. The first is all around like the way we are as an integrations engine, and like the health of your projects, and how you can visualize that. So all of the intelligence and integrations and AI stuff, that's a big major theme for us. So that's kind of how we've grouped one thing together. Number 2 is developer velocity. This is what, Kirsten and another of our project managers, Rohit's, working on heavily. Like, how do we make sure that the design experience and the way you develop is good and conforms to modern best practices and uses the latest tools and makes it efficient for you to go through all that work? So developer velocity, that's always been a focus of ours and still is. So we're staying strong there. And of course, deployment, which I could talk your ear off, and I'll try not to. But yes, if you're that's something I'm very heavily focused on as product manager, making sure that the actual promotion of your work from one environment to another, and then the pipelining and controlling of that is all really well done and defined. And that gets to the big scary chart, which really shouldn't be that scary. This is just kind of a view of what we expect to kind of start being released over these major quarters into the beginning of next year in 2026, which is a really scary number. 2025 didn't bother me, but when I see 2026, it's a lot. I'm getting old. But what this graph is trying to represent is that you'll see that a lot of these things span many months on this graph. And what that is we're taking a little bit of a different release approach than we have in the past, where previously we'd kind of build up a big major feature and then target a big release for it. Now we're starting to release these things reasonably as they get completed, right? So for example, resizing controls is part of this unified UI experience that's going to run really into quarter 4. But we've already started, like really I should drag the unified UI designers box over to April, because we've already started to release some of these features, and we'll continue to release them and release them over time as we go. So you're going to start to see shorter release windows for us, right? Like every once a month is the goal. And with that once a month release, you'll see these features start to be added and more coming out. So again, take a look at this. Let me know if there's anything that really sticks out to you. I'm going to highlight a couple. Again, because I'm the deployment guy and I'm the one talking and no one's taking my mic. Deployment manager for containers is super cool. This is like being able to actually create and destroy containers from the deployment server. So say, hey, I need to run a quick test, create your test environment, copy the production database, sanitize the data, run all of your load tests, destroy the container, and report back to deployment server. And if all that takes 10 minutes, then I can just in a 10-minute window see, hey, how did my project changes, what happened to my project changes, and how did they perform with all the workflow changes I made? Bloop, and there it goes. See all the data. So another benefit here, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Another benefit here that I'm really excited about is say you wanted to test a new version of Decisions. You're on 9.2 and we release 9.42, and you're like, well, that's a big jump for us. How is this going to look? Well, if you could quickly create a side-by-side dev environment, clone your existing one and upgrade it, and have that container process just create it for you automatically and update it, run it for a couple hours, and then you can destroy it, your cost of doing that is minimal, and you get the benefit of not touching your existing dev server or your existing production server as it's running. So being able to very quickly manage and control containers, there's an initiative here to reduce the cost of those containers by themselves, and then to deploy them to like a cloud infrastructure gives you so much flexibility. I think this is the biggest radical change that will drastically impact our customers over the next year or two that we're going to be working on. Of course, I say that because I'm working on it, but I'm really, really excited about this. And for people who are cost conscious or performance conscious, I think this gives you a ton of flexibility and improvement there. But I won't just talk about my stuff. The other thing at the bottom, you can see that I kind of highlighted red. And I'm going to bring this up because I have to admit that I was wrong about it. So I'm going to try to be humble and not arrogant here. But generative AI actually being a thing that creates process, we originally stated that we were going to hold off on that and wait a while because we weren't sure kind of how the generative AI stuff would play out, what the market would do, what other vendors would do, kind of what the future of it was. And I pretty aggressively stated that it'll never build a workflow. We actually have prototypes that build full workflows and rules. Now, granted, they're not 100% accurate all the time, or there's still some manual work that needs to be done. So I was right about that. But we do see a future coming up very quickly where we can use generative AI to actually build and design things and decisions, right? You can walk through a building wizard or chatbot that will give you, some prompts and questions, and then we'll give you like a full case entity with all of its structures and trigger flows and everything built, and you just go make tweaks, right? Again, that's part of this more configurable, less, more configuration, less development mindset that we have. And if you look even further, like there's a lot specific to AI that we're now targeting that we think is really, really good. Josh is here. He's going to be leading the charge on all of this. So if you have any specific questions here, please feel free to ask them about what the kind of future of AI is or what the roadmap looks like. But one thing I think is really cool is this AI vendor battleground, where this idea where you can take multiple different AI vendors, right? There's tons of them out there now. There's 15 models of Chat GPT, and then there's Claude with AWS, and then Wacky Do with over here. I don't know. There's so many of them, but being able to pull them into decisions and then battleground test them side by side with your actual data and your flows is a huge, huge benefit, and that's something a lot of our competitors don't do. Right. So being able to say, hey, what does ChatGPT 4 say versus version 3 versus Claude 5, right? Like if I put them side by side, how would my flow respond or how would my production data respond? And you can battleground test them live against each other and see what those different results would be. And then very quickly from that same dashboard, plug those into your processes and let them run without having to go do like edit flows and make all these changes. So vendor battleground, I think super cool. It's really, really neat there. All right, I'll pause again for a quick second, see if there's any other questions. Nope. Cool. I'm trying to talk less. Like normally it's an hour of me rambling. I'm trying to get to like 40 minutes of me rambling, so I'm close. Last thing I just want to highlight here, and then we'll open it up for some other Q&A if you have any, is around our solutions team. And again, this is we want to provide our team with a lot more, or our customers rather, with a lot more out of the box, ready to go solutions that are fully built, fully unit testable, documented, all those sorts of things. And so you may have seen a lot of these efforts and emails we've sent out about these before. I encourage you to please go check them out. They're really, really cool and give you a leg up on a lot of these different kind of standard business practices. If you haven't checked it out, it's just marketplace.decisions.com where you can go see those sorts of things. But yeah, you'll see here from the list of these a number of different projects that we're doing. They kind of touch a bunch of different kind of industries and verticals, but also a lot of similar use cases that we see pop up even cross vertical, like dynamic tasking. Dynamic tasking is this idea that when you're going to create an assignment for someone, you don't always know ahead of time when you're developing what that assignment needs or what that assignment looks like in order to be fulfilled. And so having it dynamically figure out all of those details at runtime is a common use case for many businesses. Well, with this project, you can install it and plug that into your existing workflows or plug that into a process where you need that sort of dynamic tasking capabilities. And you don't have to build it from the ground up. It'll just be ready for you to go and add in your plugs and your notifications and whatever else you'd like there. All right. I will open it up to the floor now. I'll take a quick break. I'll see if my co-panelists want to chime in with anything. But yeah, if you have any questions, there's something on the slide you wanted to see more of, please feel free again to type it in the chat or let us know. I'll hang out here for a couple of minutes. This is where we need music again. Like Josh, I need play-in music, so like a batter walking up to the plate, but also I need like Jeopardy music here so that it's not just me awkwardly on silently rambling. So
Jeopardy music might be a little old school, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, that's rude. I'm not that old. All right. Well, then let me go ahead and wrap things up if there's no questions. The best thing, again, please just let us know if you have any questions or if there's something that you're thinking about in the future you wanna ping us about. Product management at decisions.com is the best way to do that. Happy to send out this slide deck to you so you can get all of these things here. But we're available to help you out. And then again, we'll be doing these presentations every couple weeks. So in 2 weeks' time, I believe Josh, you're the next one up to actually take the reins. So if you want to join that one and hear someone else talk, that's a good one to attend. But yeah, let us know. Otherwise, thank you all very much. We'll go ahead and close it here, and I hope you all have a wonderful week, and we'll see you soon. So thanks, everyone.